A group of unruly kids were playing in someone else's cemetery, even knocking over the headstones inside. Just then, an elderly Native American man approached.
Hey! Stop! They protected this land. They died for this land. And this land is where they'll stay. Go back!
Though this land held the remains of white people, the elders showed them profound respect. For what these white people had done for this land, they deserved to rest here in peace. When the elder righted one headstone, the name engraved upon it was John Dutton, fifth-generation leader of the Yellowstone Ranch. His story began with a car crash. After shooting his own horse to put it out of its misery, old Dutton surveyed the scene. Despite the horrific accident, his face showed no terror, no anger, not even the joy of having survived. In over 60 years as a cowboy, such events had become commonplace. None of those emotions would help now. He knew this wasn't the first time, nor would it be the last. The urgent task was to find the mastermind behind the accident, resolve the troubles facing Yellowstone Ranch, and eliminate the threats looming over the family. Yet, as the patriarch, his duty and obligation. When he reached a wrecked truck, he discovered a card bearing the logo of Paradise Valley Development. This immediately pinpointed the culprit behind the crash for old Darden. The Darden family's Yellowstone Ranch spanned 4.5 million acres in Montana, requiring helicopters even for routine cattle herding. Yet in this era of relentless capital expansion, land had long become prime real estate for developers. Jenkins, the head of Paradise Valley Development, epitomized this trend. He'd first purchased land adjacent to Yellowstone Ranch from the state government, aiming to build an exclusive community to attract wealthy individuals to scenic Montana. Yet, forcing elite millionaires to live alongside cowboys was simply impossible. Thus, Jenkins sought to drive all ranchers out of Montana, making the 4.5 million-acre Yellowstone Ranch his primary target. Old Dutton, as president of the Cattlemen's Association, was the rancher's main protector. Eliminating him would save Jenkins considerable time and effort. Beyond these underhanded tactics, Jenkins' lawyer approached the state government, suing Yellowstone Ranch for obstructing urban development. Before old Darden's second son, Jamie, could defend, the female governor dismissed Jenkins' lawsuit outright. After the trial concluded, Jenkins' lawyer attempted to persuade Jamie to convince old Darden to relinquish the Yellowstone Ranch land. But Jamie replied,
"You want to suggest to my father that he clear-cut his land, be my guest. You're a braver man than me."
Upon returning to the ranch, Jamie administered simple bandaging to old Dutton. With Jenkins now eyeing Yellowstone Ranch greedily, killing him outright could plunge the ranch into turmoil. So old Dutton instructed Jamie to summon his third son, Bass, a genius in business competition, to counter the crisis Jenkins had unleashed. Meanwhile, on the Indian reservation, the newly appointed Chief Thomas was meeting with state legislators. Since all Republican representatives in Montana had been handpicked by the old guard, these Democratic lawmakers urgently needed a powerful ally to solidify their party's standing. Thomas had leveraged the reservation's casino licensing policy to gradually strengthen the Indian tribe in recent years. He also harbored a long-standing desire to reclaim the ancestral land seized by white settlers. The two sides thus forged an alliance, united by their common goal, to bring down Yellowstone Ranch. Just days later, a violent clash erupted along the border between the reservation and Yellowstone Ranch. The incident began when a damaged fence at Yellowstone Ranch allowed cattle to enter the reservation. Under regulations established by the U.S. Constitution, once livestock enters reservation land, it falls under Native American jurisdiction. Both sides had grounds to claim the herd, naturally refusing to budge an inch. Just then, old Dutton arrived at the scene in his helicopter. Witnessing the tense standoff, he was deeply surprised. Since the Duttons settled in Montana, they had always maintained friendly relations with the Native Americans, never experiencing conflict. Such a situation now unfolding surely had ulterior motives behind it. To avoid falling into an enemy's trap, he could only seek out an elderly Native American man for advice. His granddaughter was married to old Dutton's youngest son. Old Dutton hoped the elder could persuade his people to return the cattle to Yellowstone Ranch. But the elder revealed that a new chief had just taken office and urgently needed to establish authority within the tribe. In Montana, the renowned Darden family had become his primary target. Defeating the Dardens in this conflict would greatly enhance the new chief's prestige within the tribe and earn him the support of the state government. On the surface, this was a cattle dispute, but in reality, it was a political game. Just as old Dutton was about to say more, he spotted a figure in the distance, his youngest son, Casey Dutton. Since his wife Monica became pregnant, Casey had fallen out with his father and had been living on the Indian reservation. At this moment, old Dutton was unsure of his youngest son's stance. If he clashed with the Indians, there was a real risk of accidentally harming Casey. So he had no choice but to withdraw for now.
I'll bring up hay so they don't wander. Lee, clear everyone out.
The only way to reclaim the herd now was through legal action, so old Dutton sought out his second son, Jamie. Old Darden then took his seat, preparing to purchase several bulls for breeding. Just then, a white-haired elder approached him.
This is not the day, Dirk.
I can't stop him. Jimmy's the only family I have left. The favor's to me, not to him.
Darden clearly had no desire to help the old man's grandson, but the female governor was about to arrive. If she learned of their conversation, it could damage the Darden family's reputation. Thus, he reluctantly agreed. After the old man departed, Governor Liner sat beside old Darden. Her purpose was to persuade him to let Jamie enter politics, where he had demonstrated exceptional talent. Yet old Darden knew his second son was too selfish. If Jamie entered politics, Yellowstone Ranch would likely be sold to developers. Only by keeping Jamie close could old Darden rest assured. As for the reservation matter, old Darden didn't need the female governor's involvement. Thomas's attempt to assert authority upon taking office was entirely predictable. After all, every new leader made similar moves. This didn't require the governor's mediation, that would only make the Darden family appear weak. Since old Darden needed no assistance, the female governor had no choice but to leave. Staying too long risked exposing their special relationship to the media. After the auction concluded, old Darden returned home to prepare a gift for his grandson Tate. His daughter Beth approached then, informing him that Jenkins' company planned to build a massive city here. But with Beth by his side, old Darden felt no concern. Before nightfall, old Darden drove to the old cow store, carrying the hunting rifle he'd given Tate, engraved with the names of every male member of the Darden family. He wanted to tell his grandson Tate that he was Darden blood, not an Indian. Upon arriving at Case's home, old Darden also sought his opinion. The cattle were the farmer's destiny, reclaiming them was inevitable. If Chief Thomas insisted on detaining old Darden, the only recourse would be war with the Indian tribe, a conflict that would inevitably target Casey. Old Darden hoped his son would return to life on the farm, but Casey harbored resentment toward his father for forcing him to separate from his wife and imposing this so-called family duty upon him. He had no desire to return to the farm. Old Darden knew Keith was adamant, so he hoped to see his grandson. The grandfather and grandson had never truly connected, mere strangers who knew only each other's names.
Is it too much to ask that you help make that happen?
You've always asked too much.
Rejected once more, old Darden could only turn and leave. Just after old Darden departed, Monica emerged with Tate. Little Tate spotted the hunting rifle his grandfather had given him.
This for me?
That night, Casey reflected that he shouldn't force his will upon his son like his father had done. He pleaded with Monica to allow old Darden to meet Tate. With Monica's permission, Casey brought his son to Yellowstone Ranch over the weekend. Before entering the farm, his heart was filled with mixed emotions. He feared his father, old Darden, would impose the family legacy on young Tate, binding him to the land like generations before him and robbing him of his freedom. But having come this far, Casey couldn't simply turn back.
I'd bring it fixed to you.
You know how to ride a horse?
Of course I do. I'm Indian.
Yeah, maybe so.
His two older brothers greeted him warmly. Then, a familiar voice called out from behind him. Turning, Casey saw his sister, Beth. Close in age, they had been inseparable childhood companions. Sharing a mutual aversion to farm life, their bond ran deep. Seizing this rare family reunion, Casey invited Beth to join them for horseback riding and a picnic. She declined, so he took his son and brothers out for a picnic, unaware it would be their final gathering together.